Good evening. I am Gribbly. This is my folly. It takes place here in the Gribbly's Folly Community Garden and Massage Parlor, in whose windows is streaming the sunlight after Hurricane Florence has moved on, left the area. Thank you all for your concern. We are fine. Nothing happened here. Almost literally nothing. The rivers all stayed in their banks. But I did get a lot of questions about how I plan to prepare for the storm. And I wanted to make a video specifically addressing the Gribbly's Folly readiness strategy. So here we go. All right, let's get a few things out of the way, shall we? Smoking my Missouri Meerschaum hardwood pipe with some McClellan's Toasted Cavendish. It's a very mild blend, good for smoking while you're yakking about the end of the world, stuff like that. So that's one thing. The next thing is I am no expert and you shouldn't listen to me. You shouldn't listen to me. I don't even know why I'm making this video except that I've been asked to do so. I have a little bit of a unique perspective on this whole readiness deal because, as you know, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, I am kind of an anti-prepper, right? Not anti-preparedness, but anti-prepper. I feel like the prepping community has really lost its way, and a lot of the resources out there for people who might be interested in this sort of thing tend to steer them down the wrong path. And the number one way in which I think that people are steered astray is that they're led to believe that prepping, that readiness is this big, huge thing that they can never really get their head around, and it's multifaceted and involves all these different scenarios. And I think that there is a grain of truth there, but in reality, it's actually pretty damn simple. In fact, it's so simple that the entire strategy that I live by in terms of readiness can be contained in a short video. Notice I didn't actually put a time limit there, so we don't know how short, but can be contained in one video. Are you ready? Here we go. Not to repeat what I just said, but prepping, emergency preparedness, readiness should not compete with your everyday life. It should fit seamlessly in with your life because it's so simple and cheap. If it's not cheap, you're doing it wrong, right? Because the very best prep you can have is money and wise financial sense. So I think that everything else I'm going to say should be taken with that grain of salt. Is that, you know, you have to be able to afford to do this, and you have to be able to afford the energy expenditure and the mental expenditure of maintaining readiness. Readiness is not something that you go buy. It's something that you build and maintain. And so where the prepping community goes seriously wrong is by saying, well, once you go out and buy this, and this on this list of things, then you're ready. And so there's not going to be any lists in this video. This is going to be about layers of readiness and general philosophy. And so the first thing in the philosophy is that it should be simple. Second thing is mindset is more important than gear and supplies. Your readiness consists of being self-aware and knowing your own strengths and weaknesses. And if you're not self-aware, all the AR-15s in the world aren't going to help you out. I don't want to offend anybody. And I know that things happen in the world that are unpredictable, and they've happened to me. But I will say that most situations, most shit hits the fan situations that are real, true, dangerous situations become so because someone along the way made poor decisions. Someone didn't have common sense. And so the very most important first thing you can do is have a common sense mindset and maintain common sense habits. Things like keeping your car half full of gas. Things like locking your doors at night and not leaving flammable things on the stove. Basic safety protocols. Following things so that you don't get into situations that you then have to get out of. So that's it. That's like 90% of readiness. Don't get into situations that are hard to get out of. That's like 90%. So here's the other part. And this is the part that the prepping community likes to focus on because this is where the gear is bought. And therefore this is where the money is made by people in the industry. And so, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. So here's the deal. The prepping community likes to have jargon because it makes things more interesting, makes things saleable. Bug out bag, inch kit, EDC. I think it's a lot simpler to refer to these things. We're talking gear. At this point, we're talking gear. Things that you carry on your person, things you carry in your vehicle, and things you keep in your home. I don't see why we need to like come up with fancy names for this stuff and then like draw specific delineations between what's in my bug out bag and what's in my inch bag. I won't go into what those terms actually mean. But here we go. What I carry on my person is designed to get me to what I carry in my vehicle. And that is designed to get me home. So it's different for everyone. That's why a short, simple video won't have a lot of lists. But I have basic stuff on my keychain, like a flashlight, like a multi-tool. I used to carry a fire starter. I don't anymore. But you know, this sort of stuff that can get you out of most personal situations. I mean, if you fall down a well, your multi-tool isn't real. Well, your flashlight would help you if you fell down a well, but your multi-tool is probably not going to get you out of there. But most situations in which something might go wrong, you know, I have a bit of cordage on my keychain. I have a which could be used as a tourniquet. That would actually be my first choice for a tourniquet. But I also have a very sturdy belt that I wear. I carry a pocket knife. I carry a pin. I carry my cell phone. Typically, I'm wearing good shoes that I could walk a little ways in if I needed to. I'm usually dressed for the weather. I often have a hat. Basic stuff like that, which seems really simple, right? But we all know people that don't have a pocket knife, that don't have pockets. You know, women are at a disadvantage because they don't, you know, fashionably they cannot have as many pockets as we do. But then they get purses. Of course, I have a man purse, so that's a whole other level. So your personal carry items, your EDC, if you want to get all prepper jargon with it, that's your first line of defense. It's fairly simple, and I have over the years narrowed things down to stuff that I only really use, because I don't like carrying. I used to carry a gun every day. I used to carry pepper spray every day. That was a different life. I don't use that stuff anymore. It doesn't fit me anymore. So this is what I have now. It's customized to me, and that's how all this stuff should be. This will get me to my vehicle where I keep a ready bag. It's a bag with straps. You might even call it a backpack. Some would call it a bug out bag. Some would call it, well, I don't think you could call it an inch bag. Inch stands for I'm never coming home, and I definitely want to come home. I could not live indefinitely out of that bag, and I think that anyone that has an inch bag probably can't live indefinitely. Whatever. We're not gonna get into criticizing other people's. All right. So, yeah. So in this bag is enough stuff to keep me alive for 24 to 72 hours. And in theory, I could spend the night in the woods using the bag that I keep in the back of my car. I think it's highly unlikely I would ever have to. And what is likely is I find myself, you know, like I'm over to family's house at Christmas. This is the example that always comes up. And, oh, you know, I really wish we could stay the night, but we can't. We got to go home. Well, why can't we stay the night? I got a whole bag full of stuff. Might as well stay, right? I got a toothbrush. I think it's really important to be prepared for normal occurrences, as opposed to, oh, there's zombies invading, glad I have my bag with my toothbrush. It's much more likely to just want to stay the night at Christmas. And that harkens back to, you know, prepping should fit in with your life. It shouldn't be this extra weight that you carry around with you for no reason. So in this bag, I have basic toiletries. I have a change of clothes. I have thermal blankets. I don't carry a sleeping bag because it's too big. I have thermal blankets and a tarp. So I could, in theory, survive a night in cold weather from this bag. I really wouldn't want to have to try. I do have a fixed blade knife in it, but I don't have any other weapons. I carry, there's a, it's not an MRE, but it's, there's a big brick of a power bar in there, and some water and a water filter, various cordage, some tools. I've got a bigger multi-tool in there, and that's it. That's it. I'll break it down for you in another video. We'll drill down. So that gets me back to the house, right? And so once I'm at the house, then what happens? There's all kinds of lists and programs for how to prepare for various lengths of time, how to bug in to stay in your house. I'm not interested in any of that. Here's what we did. My wife and I made use of this incredibly advanced technology called Google Docs, and we made a spreadsheet, and we came up with all the stuff that we use in a month, and we sort of prorated it out. Kiddo eats 4 boxes of graham crackers in a month, right? So that's about a box a week. So every month we go buy 6 weeks worth of stuff. So this covers all non-perishable items, right? So we're not buying 6 weeks worth of steak and fish at the beginning of a month, obviously, but we're buying 6 weeks of toilet paper, 6 weeks of paper towels and soap and shampoo and those kinds of things that don't have a shelf life or aren't perishable. We then have a stash of canned goods, non-perishable food items that we keep at a certain level that is based on being, if the world came to an end, we could live for 2 weeks on this stuff. It's stuff we normally eat, things like peanut butter, things like rice, tuna, cheap stuff, not MREs. MREs are expensive. They taste bad. So this is stuff that we would normally cook. And so at any given point, we have this stash of food, and we have at least an extra 2 weeks worth of stuff in our house, disposable stuff that we go through. That's it. That's it. We don't need an extra room. We're not climbing into the attic. This stuff fits under the bed or under under a cupboard. It's not a lot of stuff. And if you're smart with it, it's plenty of stuff. We do have a power out kit that has, if a tree crashes through the window or something like that, it's got some plastic sheeting, a staple gun. We've got some glow sticks, some flashlights. I can get into that in another video, but basically what we keep in our home is very, very simple, common sense stuff. And guess what? That's it. That's all. That's the entire strategy. That's it. It's really not more complex than that. And it's taken us a long time to get it this simple. And we recognize that it has certain weaknesses. For example, zombies. Oh, that's right. Zombies don't exist. In a perfect world, I would like to be completely self-sustaining. I would like to have a log cabin off-grid somewhere where we could bug out and live forever. If I won the lottery, I would make that happen. In the real world, prepping any more than we do now is going to seriously detract from our quality of life. We could do things like get a rain barrel. A rain barrel would be a good idea. I'm sure there are things that we could do, advancements we could make, but prepping for 6 months, prepping for a year, those things are out of our reach in both energy, money, and space, in all three of those things. This is where we choose to stop. This is the balance. Now, I know that there will be preppers out there that are watching this. I have a few on my channel or in my subscriber list that are going to be watching this and think, well, there's two major omissions here. Number one, firearms. And to that, I will answer, not all preppers need firearms. I personally do have firearms, but I think that requiring firearms as a prerequisite to readiness is a bad idea on the part of the prepping community, because firearms are divisive, they're controversial, not everyone knows how to use them, and they are they require a steep learning curve for people just trying to get ready for the next storm. I've got firearms. I wouldn't consider them part of basic prepping. I think it's something else entirely. But to answer the question, my home defense weapon is a Ruger 10/22, 22 long rifle, 25 rounds. It'll probably get the job done. And if it doesn't get the job done, the job probably wasn't going to get done anyway. But it's also very easy to use for anyone in the house except for my 3-year-old. Low cost. Ammo is super cheap, easy to maintain, fits into my life. The second big omission that preppers will point out is, Gribs, what if you have to bug out? And the answer to that is, I'm not bugging out. I'm not bugging out. I have a special needs kid. All my stuff is in my house. I'm not bugging out. Unless the house is burning down, unless there is a chemical spill, radiological attack, something like that, and it's physically unsafe for me to stay there, I'm not bugging out. If I had to bug out, where the hell would I go? I am not wealthy enough to afford to build my own bug out location and then defend it in the event. Bugging out is a prepper fantasy. Now, oh shit, there's a gas main explosion. This happened. You can go back on my channel and find the story if you want, but there's a gas main explosion right outside. I did actually have to bug out. I had to leave my house to evacuate the neighborhood. We did not have a kid at that time. We went across town for a few hours and then we came back. It wasn't that big of a deal. And should there be a normal, any kind of normal event, hurricane, forest fire, we have a place we have plenty of places we can go and spend a few days. And if our house burns down, that really sucks, but we'll be okay. We'll be able to survive. Can we survive the collapse of civilization? No, probably not. Somewhere you have to draw the line. And that's what my previous video about loving your neighbor instead of shooting your neighbor, that's what that was about. I draw the line at, I want to keep living in my house. I want to keep my normal life. If something is going to dramatically disrupt my normal life forever, I'm not really prepared for that. And even if I could be, it would distract so much from my regular life that I'm not sure I would want to be. So my goal is to be me. Is to keep being me as long as I can, to maintain my values as long as I can, and to project them within my sphere as long as I can. And I think this system is a good balance for me. Might be different from you, but that is the Gribley's Folly prepping strategy. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the drill down videos. We'll talk about the other stuff if you want me to. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.